G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the north side of the map. Currently ranked number 2 on the ladder. In the colour yellow, playing as the Ottomans. We've got Lucifron. And on the south side of the map, in the colour pink, playing as the Holy Roman Empire, we've got Kiljadi. Opening up with a barracks here in the base. Sending out the scout over towards the east side. Let's take a look at Lucifron. Did you see how many villagers he sent out that early on? 3 villages. That is a crazy amount of villagers. I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what's going to happen in this early game. I suspect with 3 villagers coming out this early, we're going to be spending quite some time in the Dark Age as he does head out towards that east side. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with this map, this is Golden Heights. It is it's a pretty popular map. I like this one quite a bit because it's one of those maps that even if you lose water, you can come back on. But I will say right now, with the early speed that Lucifron's showing here, I suspect he may not be losing water. In fact, I'd be surprised if Kiljadi even looks to really contest it too much. I suspect he's probably going to be doing it. Obviously, we've got the barracks out here. The first of the spearmen's already on the way. Scout didn't even go out and check where everything was going in. Now let's talk about the early game advantages that you've got here for each civ, because each civ's obviously different when it comes to Age of Empires. So, for the Holy Roman Empire, one of the big advantages that they get is the prelate in the early game. So, if a spearman gets a little bit low on health, they can always bring that spearman back and look to heal it up. At the same time, on the other side of the map, when it comes to placing down the dock for the Ottomans, their dock is a little bit cheaper. But it's not just their dock. So if we take a look here, you can see instead of 150 wood, it's 100. But it's not just their dock, it's also their barracks, it's also their military, well, not military school, but all their military buildings, archery ranges, stables, everything is much cheaper for them. So it means that your wood early game, you can convert it into a bit of a stronger play. But look at this, a little bit of a mistake from Kiljadi in not sending out that scout and spotting out what he sees, because now all of a sudden it means that his opponent Lucifron will get that barracks up guaranteed. I don't think it probably would have changed too much here. May have been able to find a villager or two, but we do now see that barracks beginning to produce early spearmen here for Lucifron. Villagers going to get caught with their pants down, but the spear arrives just in time, and the villas will be able to help defend. Beautiful little micro coming in. You can see the way that Lucifron's just kind of keeping everything close. The second and third spearmen now coming through. How many barracks have we got back here? Just the one for the moment. Sometimes you do see players look to go in for that second barracks. But Vils coming out here. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a tough hold here for Lucifron. Kiljadi does have the numbers advantage at the moment, but the villager's doing a decent job. Nice little micro. Does lose one of the spearmen. He did look bald, but I can tell you now, he wasn't bald. He was just, he was wearing a cap. Let's just put it that way. But it looks like he's got himself in a pretty decent spot. As long as he keeps making spearmen coming through here, Lucifron should be okay. And you can see he's going to look to try and tank it up on a villager. Manages to keep the villager alive. Loses out on the one spearman, so is outnumbered now. He's got to be careful. The next one pops out, but you can see he's matching this. Kiljadi is with each one that comes through. Manages to hit down one of those villagers. Keep in mind, he's also got the dock that is producing. It is absolutely balls to the walls. Early aggression coming out from both of these guys at the moment, but it looks like Kiljadi manages to maintain. I'd love to see him bring out that prelate. I think the prelate out here would have just completely turned this battle. The problem is, if you do bring that prelate out, your enemy will probably look to focus it down. So, let's see exactly what we've got. Now, back towards the base, you can see Kiljadi's actually scouting out whether the gold has been taken just yet. And he sees, indeed, it has not. So, there's no real prospect of an age up just yet. So, to me, that almost says, hey, let's just go heavy on beating down this early on. I'd be tempted to throw down a second barracks at this point. Let's see exactly what his opponent does end up doing as the spears continue putting on that pressure. More and more spearmen going to be coming out. And now outnumbered, 4 against 5. This is where it starts to get tough for Kiljadi, and Lucifron looks like he may be able to hold here. As long as he keeps making one spearman at a time and then also thinks about aging up, I think he's going to be in a really decent spot. The question's going to be about that gold, though, and whether Kiljadi looks to put pressure onto that gold. He's doing a good job scouting up towards that north side, but I've got a fear. If you look to put an outpost somewhere around here, you could really lock Lucifron out of gold. At the same time, that scout does manage to spot the reinforcements on the way through. Let's check back in on that south side, see how Kiljadi's doing. He's spotting out all that enemy gold. He knows there's nothing on the west side. He could definitely look to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if he sends a villager or two out there. What do we have here? It's going to be a villager looking to come over towards that east side. Not being scouted out by the enemy for the moment. Does get scouted out by Gaia, though. More spears on the way through. He's got to be careful not to rally them towards the enemy too far. You always want to try and pick them up a little bit before. Spears do come in, though. It's going to be tough to micro this one. Outnumbered once again. Up up against 6 spearmen here versus the 5. Looks like one of them will go down. Manages to get it out by the skin of his teeth, and you can see him now going to be sending it back just to be healed up. The prelates are back here, also doing their thing. And at the same time, now down towards the south side, that scout is going to get caught. But I will say, so far, the advantage has got to go in favor of Lucifron. The fact that he's been able to hold for this long, and realistically, you know, he's lost 2 villages, but he's managed to hold the water, and I think that's the key. So now he can begin to focus on his next goal, and that's going to be thinking about aging up. So for me, in this position as Lucifron, now that you've won the water, I think your main goal is getting to Castle Age. You want to try and get to Castle Age here. You want to look to deny those relics. It's going to be really important for you to do that. Typically, Kiljadi, he's an aggressive player. One of the things I know about this guy is very aggressive. I would expect that he's going to look to try and play this game out in the Castle Age himself. So denying those relics is going to be really important for Lucifron. And getting the castle, you know, building up that big mass of crossbows is always nice against the Holy Roman Empire. But we do see it's going to be the Archon Chapel beginning to come down here for Kiljadi in the south side of the map. Beautiful little spot he's got. He's got his wood line. He's got the gold. He's also at the back of his base, and there's plenty of space for farms. You can see he's going to have limitless space back here. Probably going to be talking about 40, 50 farms back in this corner very, very easily. But now those spears going to begin moving out. They've got all their heals, and you can see he's back up to full health over here. I tell you what, Lucifron might be in a little bit of a dilly of a pickle. I suspect he is outnumbered on the spears. Not to mention he's out-healthed as well. But you know what he won't be? He won't be out-microed. One of the best players in the world, Lucifron. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can watch him live if you're interested in checking out his stream. He's going to drop down a twin madrasa right now as well. 10 vils. Building it, switched it out to 8. He said, you know what, we don't need to go up that fast. Now the barracks is under threat. I don't think Lucifron cares too much about losing this barracks, but we've got the imams, the double imams coming out now for Lucifron. This should be more than enough to swing the tide of the battle. He'll look to get the heals out. And once he's got those heals on the way through, you'll begin to see him move down. And these imams, Kiljadi knows that there is no way he can contest this imam force right here. And I love this from Lucifron because this just ties so well together with going to the Castle Age by getting these imams, because it means that you can start to pick off those relics from the map, get your imams out onto the map before your enemy can really get in position to put on pressure. But we do see that barracks is now going to be going down. Once again, I don't think this is really that impactful. Even if this dock goes down, it's not a huge issue because we do have the second dock up towards the north side. So there's not going to be any loss in tempo on that economy. And now up towards that north side, the age up does come through. Barracks back at home. Looks like the hardened upgrade going to be coming in for Lucifron. Kiljadi, I suspect, has already picked it up. Indeed he has. Men-at-Arms now going to be coming through as well for himself. And Kiljadi going to be looking to drop down a dock. He's already, in fact, already got the galley out. So going to be chasing back a couple of these fishing boats. So Kiljadi in a decent spot here. Manages to do pretty well. Once that hardened upgrade comes through, he should be absolutely fine on attacking, or at least defending on this position. We can see the Dow trying its best just to fire off some AoE, getting off some decent shots. Look at those shots, my lord. They're just getting beautiful spreads right there. Galley versus Dow. Remember, the repair is here as well. And just looking to try and fight for position at the moment. Behind this, though, take a look at the resources that Lucifron's got. Stacking up a bit of wood back here as well. Might be looking to get a couple more military production buildings, military vessels out here. Looking to dodge, managing to duck. Look at the, oh my lord. This guy's been watching his dodgeball, that is for sure. Those imams just weaving back and forth. Let's check in now over on that south side, though. Kiljadi yet to transition over to farms. Something that you do often see when you're watching the Holy Roman Empire is that they will go for those early farms. But I will note one thing for Kiljadi. Doesn't look like we're really aging up, or at least even planning to age up. The big thing right now that we're doing, we're contesting the water. We're having a little bit of trouble doing it as well. We've lost an explosive down right there, an explosive, what have we got? A demolition ship. We've all got different names, but they do the same thing. You know how it is. But now Hulk going to be coming out, looking to mix it up here. And as long as Lucifron can hold on to even just these few fishing boats, he'll be really happy with this. But I think at the moment, you've got to call it pretty even. If anything, I would say the advantage goes over to Lucifron just because I'm a big fan of those two imams that he's picked up. It just changes the dynamics of these fights so much in the early game. I think it's really smart. But let's check in with this little attack. Men-at-Arms are now mixed in here as well, which is going to make it difficult for Lucifron to fight up against this. He really needs to work out that castle age, but you can see that he's stopping for a couple of upgrades on the way while he's doing it. Spear's going to be looking to focus down the dock. We can see the demo ship is on the way. He's picking up naval arrow slits, but keep in mind that this doesn't actually do anything against spears. Villagers on the run, under attack by the spearmen. A couple men-at-arms mixed in with it, but obviously not too much damage going to be done there. Villagers do not go down. for the moment, but he will spot out the villagers or the workers here on gold. This should be a good tell for him. This should be, he should be able to click on that gold and go, oh my gosh, that is quite close to Castle Age. So I would expect that you're going to see an appropriate amount of villagers thrown on gold now on Kiljadi's side, and a focus, a trend towards that. He's doing well, getting on the berries. Archery range going to be coming down. This is interesting. Archery range. Why are we going for an archery range? What's the go here? Is it just to deal with the few spears that are out? Surely not. He's going into a second archery range. This is a bit of a head scratcher. Now, one of the things that we can also talk about here are the Ottomans in general. I think the Ottomans, obviously, they've been copping a lot of flack lately. We talked about them in the last vid that we posted, memeing them a little bit. You know, there's always that one guy. Well, there's not one guy. There's like 12 of them now. They all post the same thing. Drongo, you're in denial. The Ottomans are the worst civ that have ever existed and ever will exist. They need to be buffed in the late game. The Janissary, the Grey Bombard, these units are useless, Drongo. Please, tell the devs. That's pretty much the gist of it. And they all talk like that. They're very passionate NPCs. But, I mean, I will say right now, Lucifron's doing a pretty decent job with the Ottomans, making them look competitive. I'm feeling it right now. And I think that Lucifron's done a pretty decent job in recognizing what his goal is here and the way that he's going to achieve it. He's still running a little bit short of that gold, and we talked about that earlier. He picked up upgrades. I noticed that he picked up double broadaxe, and I think that's a great upgrade. It's a fine upgrade. Is it the upgrade that you want before you hit castle, though? That's the big question for me. And he almost loses that Imam. Another Vizier point now going to be coming in for Lucifron. Let's look to see what we can spot. Does he go for the meta? He could go for the sheep here. Sheep wouldn't be too bad. He does have... I mean, he's got berries back here, so it's not like he's running out of food per se. But we'll go into the market. I'm curious what that Vizier point was spent on, or whether he's even spent it yet. He could just look... He could look to go into something just like military campus, even though he doesn't have military schools at the moment. In fact, I've just noticed, like, he's literally doing the no military school challenge. You know, okay, I'll give you guys this. Oh, okay, love it, love it. Istanbul Imperial Palace. Oh my lord, look at this. So he put the market down because, oh, this is big brain. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lucifron Ottoman era. It's happening right here. So Imams have healed themselves back up. Everything's going well. The big thing here is Lucifron needs to get out onto the map, and he needs to start taking those relics. The problem is his enemy is somewhat decided upon his feudal age designs. We talked earlier about the fact that there were quite a large amount of archers that were going to be coming out. Looks like Kiljadi's just going to be sticking to it. You know, I mentioned earlier, Kiljadi is an aggressive player. If anything, I thought he'd be looking to finish this game in the Castle Age. Not going to Imperial like most Holy Roman Empire players would. But it seems today is not the day that happens. Beautiful landmark right there, and we finally see it. We haven't seen this landmark for such a long time. Let's just do a little bit of a recap for what it does. So it gives you 2 extra points. It doubles the experience that you receive around that landmark as well. So you get those 2 extra Vizier points, because normally you only get 5, and that kind of caps you, right? Because you're like, can I get trade bags? Not really, because I don't have the points. Can I get siege works? Or not siege crews? Not really, I don't have the points. So you really got to work out what you want to do. Whereas with the Istanbul Imperial Palace, you don't get unique upgrades, but you just get the option to have more, which is quite big. But on top of that, you also get those Vizier points in a lot faster, because you get double the Imperial Council experience from these buildings around the landmark. But we do see a little bit of a quick wall going to be coming in. Archers looking to try and stop it from coming up. Men-at-Arms going to make their way towards that top side. Of course, these are Castle Age Men-at-Arms, so they're going to have quite a good time up against these Feudal Age units. Spears, got to be careful not to get caught. Men-at-Arms still being forced away back. They are outnumbered and outgunned at the moment, and you can see Lucifron starting to stall out, running out of resources. He's only got a handful of units up here. Got to be careful not to, or to avoid getting focused down, and we can see the Imams on the back line, just looking to repair. Doesn't need the relics. He says, I don't need the relics. All I need is to stay alive right now. And so those men-at-arms that are looking to be the heroes of the day right now, look at them, the archers, they're just ignoring them. They said, all right, you know what? Men-at-arms, too good. Men-at-arms with Imams, way too good. I can't do it. I can't hold against that. And now the quick wall is going to be coming in. Beautiful little quick walls coming in. Looks to just get the pillars down on the edge. Villagers are continuing to go down, though. He's doing a really decent job of just making every unit count. Kiljadi behind this. I'm hoping you're going Castle Age, mate. You've got so many resources in the bank. Please tell me you're going to start throwing farms down around this Ark and Chapel. Just every single villager right now. Just put them onto a farm. Get that thing escalated. Just go Imperial, you know, pick up all the relics. You're in control right now. It's going to take time for those men-at-arms to come out. And by the time they get to your base, mate, you'll be Imperial Age with 14 bombards. It'll be fine. Not to worry. All right, in total, Kiljadi has managed to take out 13 workers. Well, 12 workers. I counted one extra because I thought that one was going down, but it was not. 12 workers so far. Yet still, I mean, Lucifron's down a fair amount of villages here, right? Like, this is a tangible amount of villages. This is a huge amount, actually, when you consider it. So Lucifron's in a really tough position here. This is, you know what? This is one of those games that I just know the comments are already going to be saying, Drongo, Drongo, I don't know why you're casting Ottoman games repeatedly. We know that Ottomans are the worst civilization to ever exist. Please stop casting them. I feel like your voice is from like the Age of Empires 3 campaign. I'm going to go with like not season 2. It was like the second campaign, like Blood, Ice, and Steel. And you're one of those NPCs that were on like the island. Well, not the NPCs, like the characters. Drongo, the Ottomans, their bombards are terrible. Sorry. I gotta make fun of you. Every time I read your comment, I smile, and I want to pass on that same energy. I want everyone to experience that same energy. But let's talk a little bit about energy. You know, we talked about going up to the castle age. Kiljadi's still quite a way away from it. Look at this. Lucifron just walks into the base. He knows what he needs to do to win this game. He says, I've lost villages. My economy is down. I can't let him have an untouched economy. So just like the Veronicas, he looks to go and touch the economy of his opponent. That's an Australian reference. I don't know how many people are going to get that, but if you do get that, you are probably a 90s kid, so I hope that you're feeling a little bit less untouched than what we were back then. But let's talk a little bit about this inevitable defense that's going to continue coming down. This is hard to deal with, right? Because you can't go for archers. You go for archers, you're just going to be laughed at. It's nigh impossible. You could go for men-at-arms here, but I think this is part of the reason why it's so important to get to Castle Age as well for the Holy Roman Empire, is just the access to knight, the access to crossbow. Ottomans, I wouldn't say that they're known for going men-at-arms, but it does feel very comfy going for men-at-arms as the Ottomans. Vils do look like they are going to come out here, beginning to make their ways back down towards the farm. Kiljadi obviously needs to try and get that age up through. Doesn't want his opponent to scout it, though. That's a real key factor here. Looks like he will be able to keep majority of villagers alive, only losing 2 workers, and it's going to be the Burgrave. Oof. I mean, I understand the oh, he's a middle of the map Burgrave kind of guy. All right, okay. I can respect this. Because at this point, you think about Regnates and you're like, oh, can I really do a Regnates here? My enemy's been Castle Age for a long time. I don't know how many relics they've taken. I mean, to be fair, he can see on the minimap how many relics there are and count them, but you always feel like whenever you're behind on that Castle Age, you always just feel like, oh, he's probably 5 seconds away from taking every single relic. That's the way it feels to me. So it's understandable that Kiljadi here will go for the Burgrave Palace, but the question is, how does he look to finish the game with that, considering the current position? Lucifron's managed to even up that villager count slightly. It's 35 versus 39. One of the things to note is that he did eventually win on water. And if there's anything that's going to power him through this game right now, it is the water. So I think the best thing that Lucifron can do here is just hold out. Don't look to attack the enemy. Just look to try and play the late game. And I know that seems funny, right? Because everybody says the Ottoman late game is terrible. But to be honest, Ottoman late game, it's pretty decent when you've got a water economy like this. I'll say that much. Like, as long as you can support all of those units that you're making through this, it's decent. Now, another thing to note, there's no military schools. Absolutely none. He has not made a single military school here. It's one of the Ottomans' unique buildings where they gain access to units for free, but it takes a little bit of time for them to come out. I say a little bit, it's a long time. And this was something that Beastie raised in his recent video. I don't know if you guys have watched it yet, but if you haven't, make sure you go check it out so you know what I'm talking about. But he was talking about the Ottomans, and he was talking about the fact that military schools just feel terrible. They're such a huge investment, and it takes so long for them to pay off that by the time it's happened, you've normally lost the game. And that's not a good feeling. So what ways could they improve the military school? Well, I've got some ideas, because Beastie threw out some ideas. I'd like to see their cost reduced significantly. Instead of like 150, 100, drop it down to like, I'm not even kidding you, like drop it down to like 50 wood, okay? But just make it scale with age a lot harder than what it does right now. So instead of like, the way that it is at the moment is it's based on age, but it's tied to the blacksmith. So I would say include that, that's cool. But also on top of that, just make it like, you know, a unit in feudal age takes 2 minutes to build. a unit in like the Dark Age takes 3 minutes to build, and then like Castle Age, it's like 90 seconds, and then Imperial Age, it's like a minute, right? So the idea is, we'll talk about it later, but because we got ourselves a bit of a fight coming in right here. Archer's looking to push up through. Keep in mind, Killjadi has gone Castle Age right now. Veterancy not coming in on the Archers. Crossbows on the back, though. Got to be able to hold this down. Remember, the Imams still going strong behind this. Those healing repairs coming through for all of these units, and the Imam just running up to the front line. He's like, come here, I'm going to teach you the ways of my God. And unfortunately, they were not interested. So I think the idea is that you want to reduce how prohibitive it is for the Ottomans to invest into their military schools. But at the same time, you want to make it that they're investing in it, but they're not overwhelming the enemy immediately, right? Like, you don't want it just to be free and then they're getting free units from the very beginning and it's like it's power overwhelming, that sort of thing. Like, the military schools are only coming down at 20 minutes. And this is meant to be like a central theme of the civilization. So I definitely think you could look at redesigning this military school. You know, even if it was just one of those things where it ramps up, or give him a technology, you know, like give him a feudal age technology that's a little bit more expensive. And then at least that way, you know, maybe you feel good about putting down your military schools and they're really slow. And then, oh, I got to my tech and now they're going into overdrive, something like that, right? Like, that'd be pretty cool, pretty decent. But at the moment, they're just way too expensive, right? Like, this is equivalent to a town center right here in resources, almost equivalent to a town center in resources. You have 300 and 200 versus the 400 and 350. So, yeah, I mean, one more. So there you go. This is equivalent to a town center in resources. And that's a big difference, right? If you're 2 TCs versus 3 TCs, especially at this stage of the game, that can be a big difference. So Killjadi, he's managed to get to Castle Age. Burgrave is just pumping overtime. The problem that he's going to have are these crossbows. Now, the crossbow meta-arms dynamic is a really funny one, because in quite low numbers, if you're talking like 4 or 5 crossbows together, or not even like 4 or 5 crossbows, so like 3 to 4 crossbows, meta-arms will beat them. Like 5 or 6 meta-arms will beat the crossbows, because they just run them down and you can't kill the meta-arms. But when the meta-arms, or rather when the crossbows get to critical mass, when they can one-shot the meta-arms, then the crossbows are all of a sudden really strong. What happens, though, in the late game is that meta-arms become so numerous that the crossbows have trouble dealing with them effectively. I mean, they will still win cost-effectively, but the problem is people make a lot more men-at-arms than they make crossbows. And so if you're running like 80 men-at-arms against 30 crossbows, they'll just completely overwhelm them. And that's something that you've got to be careful of, especially considering he's up against the Burgrave here. But the Knights on the front line going to do a beautiful job of holding. Keep in mind, we've got that attack on the south side as well. Battering rams do come in, look to try and hit down that town center. Archer's doing a good job of teeing off towards the back line. Keep in mind, the meta is here with that range defense on. So it means that these crossbows have got a total of 3 ranged armor up against the 8 armor, or 8 attack of his enemy. It's going to mean that he's dealing with a decent chunk of damage getting taken out there. At the same time, Vill's going to get pulled. He does have his textiles upgrade, so it's going to take a little bit more health to be taken off these villagers if you want to manage to try and take them out. But look at this, the Lancers going to be cleaning up this mess. And Lucifer with a beautiful hold at the 23-minute mark here, shutting down this attack. This is a difficult spot for Killjadi. We're 23 minutes into this game. He's lost water. He's lost relics. I say he's lost relics. Now, he hasn't lost relics. It's 3-2. So everyone's going to be like, 3-2, that ain't bad. Yeah, but you're playing the Holy Roman Empire. 3-2, that's bad. It should be 4-1 in your favor, and they should be Ragnit's relics. They're not. So immediately from this position, I just got to say, Lucifron, he's in the driver's seat right now. He's in a prime position. Where do we go from here? How does Killjadi possibly turn this back? Now, I can see one way that he could turn this back. If he went to Imperial and put down the outpost with a cannon emplacement, I could see that somehow holding. Anything short of that, though, I don't know how he does it. He can look to go into, like, mass spears here. That can definitely work. You know, we've got... These are pretty decent spears, right? Like, these are Holy Roman Empire spears, which means that they're faster than the ordinary spear. He's also got the Prelate, which can buff them up as well, but... massing up spears isn't going to be that effective because Lucifron's a smart guy. He's going to see, hold on, that's 35 spears, no other units. I'm probably just going to make some archers or some men-at-arms and mix those in. And spears have a bit of trouble against men-at-arms. I mean, yeah, 10 damage against 4 armor. It's not the best. But we'll look to see exactly what direction he goes for because the spear mass does continue to build here. we can see it looks like it's going to be +1 ranged attack. So I'm sure you can suspect where that's going to head. But let's check in with Kiljadi and see how he's doing. Back towards his base. At the moment, the farm economy, not the greatest. He's lost a fair amount of villagers down here, 11 so far. Villagers moving up towards the north, looking to throw down a keep. Nothing particularly exciting here other than food. And once again, this is one of those things where it's like, well, to be honest, I'd prefer just these villagers, you know, put a mill down here and just throw down a whole bunch of farms around this. But it works. It works. It just doesn't really feel like it's going to do a whole lot, right? Compare that to a keep in the middle here, which is going to force your enemy to make siege, force them back. It's a big difference. Not to mention, you know, maybe you can capture the sacred site. There's plenty of stuff there that you could look to change. But looks like those crossbows will continue to get chased there. Spear's going to do a decent job of cleaning up the meta as it runs in. At the same time, those knights, well, Lancers having a little bit of trouble as they do get caught by spears, and the archers, together with the spears, going to be able to force these crossbowmen back for the moment. Those knights going to look to try and harass through onto the backside as the Springald emplacement fires off. Keep in mind, there are villagers over towards this west corner. But one thing to note is that we do have a second TC up, which means that any losses on the villagers, it's going to be felt a little bit less than what it would on the other side, because 2 TCs is always going to be outproducing the 1 TC. Except if it's an Age 4 TC from the Holy Roman Empire. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the printer. But I guess that's more of a landmark than it is a TC. It's still technically a TC. I mean, if you want to get into technicalities, like a keep is a TC for the Delhi. For the Delhi, that's it. All right, well, Lucifron going to start moving out, looking to pick up gold. I would have loved a keep here. Like, could you imagine how good a keep here would have been? Now, all of a sudden, you know, you're forcing the Ottoman player to start making siege. What are they going to do? Battering rams? Maybe. Trebs? Probably. I think he'd probably go Trebs, right? Like, that's way too close to home for to not be able to do battering rams. Especially with the mass that Lucifron's got at the moment. It's a pretty decent mass. And now we can see Kiljadi starting to build up his own mass as well. Up to 36 military at the moment, but Lucifron up by a country mile when it comes to both the villages and the military. Military schools is up to 4. So 4 of them in total. Now working under the blacksmith. They're going to be moving out here. Looks like a little bit of a raid. I'm genuinely surprised to see this landmark, the Istanbul Imperial Palace. I wonder what it was about this landmark that he decided to do it. You know, I wish that we could go in and have a look what vizier points he'd gotten. It's such an important part of the Ottomans, but as you guys know, we can't really see it. 27 minutes into this game, Lucifron continues to push down the center of the map here. Men-at-arm number's going to look really good. You can see just how reactive he was, right? Like, he saw the spearman crossbow coming out. He's like, I'm not even going to bother with archers. Rather, spearman archer coming out. He said, I'm not even going to bother with archers. I'll just make men-at-arms, and I'll laugh at you. And that's exactly what he does. The same time that raid coming in, villager number 1 goes down. The second one goes down as well. Spear's going to clean it up. And now the archer's doing a good job just to kite around in circles. Meanwhile, just focusing down each of the crossbows, doing a pretty decent job, but that extra little bit of armor is going to make all the difference. You can see how much health these guys are surviving on. The archers, unfortunately, not able to one-shot them anymore. Meta doing a wonderful job just keeping those alive, and now those numbers are going to continue to build up. Spearmen coming out of here non-stop. Every 3 seconds, a spearman going to be coming out. Kiljadi still trying to hold on for dear life, but the numbers are way too strong. Way too high. Look at this. 79 versus 21 right now. Lucifron, how you doing, mate? Jeez Louise, talk about a game right here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, you wanted to see it. You wanted to see the Ottoman victory. The famous Ottoman victory. Drongo, where are the Ottomans victorious? Well, it seems like Golden Heights they're victorious. At least they will be today. Lucifron's put on a hell of a show. So if I could walk away from this and I could say, okay, what are the things that we could learn from this? From the Holy Roman Empire perspective, I think you've got to prioritize getting up to the Castle Age. I don't think you can muck around in feudal as long as Kiljadi looked to do today, because the lack of crossbows really hurt him. Not having those crossbows on defense meant that his economy was stalled out, and that really hurt his transition period. On top of that, prioritizing relics is really important, looking to try and get up for that Regnitz Cathedral. And I think another thing is just making sure you check how many relics are on the map at the time that you are aging, because even though it feels bad aging up after your opponent, 94 to 10, by the way, good game gets called. Even though it feels bad aging up after your opponent, there's a good chance that you could get some value out of those relics still. But anyway, we'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys have enjoyed this casted game. Make sure you check out Lucifront. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can watch him live over on Twitch. And of course, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.